you're talking about IDS. I don't know what's going on. I'm unknown. I mean, you can set up your IDS, pull in emerging threats rule set, and be protected. One cool thing that I think is actually being done in the cloud that I think is very useful that people can leverage. I mean, this could be a cloud, someone doing cloud email that can leverage this, or an actual individual organization. Is services like the Postinis or the Message Labs. You want to people can do spam protection or things around that, but these guys will actually provide you security in that they'll do virus scanning or other heuristics or their own homegrown stuff around inbound attachments. So I deal a lot with targeted attacks and APT. None of those guys are going to stop everything or even most of it, but they're going to do a lot better than most small organization or even medium size that doesn't have someone specifically dealing with this. And that when that malicious document file comes in or that malicious PDF file comes in, it's not hitting your mail servers first. It's actually going to a cloud service and it's stopping it. And that's one of the best examples of the unknown that I can think of where people are getting a lot of value and probably not really even realizing it. And
Great.
I'll still give them, back to the, you can go to some of those malicious networks. The guys are tracking malicious networks, some of the public services where people are listing, the bad stuff that's going on. So you're the hosting provider. You could even be the individual IP owner. But if you're the cloud provider, whoever, there's different resources out there too. The unknown, someone said this is bad, this is spamming, this is, you got the spam house or other people that flag stuff. You get the stuff that you're not expecting or maybe you're not detecting, but someone else has found. And there's places and resources you can go to find out that, hey, there's badness going on here.
Yep. Michael, what about from Microsoft's standpoint? You guys writing custom software for Azure?
Yeah, so we use, the real trick here obviously is, the controls are the controls. And the intent of the controls is pretty sound. I mean, it's risk-based and, it's in response to the threats that are there. As we've noted, the threats are pretty, they're pretty standard porting from the, traditional world into the cloud world. So the trick is how do you port them over and make them effective? And I think that's what your question is. And I think part of it is, yes, there are some that don't port over cleanly, and those have to be adjusted using the secret sauce and some custom-made code. And there's things that are some hybrid of custom-made code and standard traditional technologies. And I think you also look at it from the stack level as well, which is that when you're down at the infrastructure level, host and network level, it's a lot of the same basic controls. It's your vulnerability assessment, and it's your penetration testing, and it's you're doing all those good security practices. When it comes to the unknown threats, I think what's important is your agility as a security organization, and also your is your adherence to something like an information security management system. So Microsoft, we're certified in ISO 27001, and we have a pretty robust ISMS. And that's that plan, do, check, act cycle. And I think that you need to constantly be doing a risk-based analysis. Part of the difficulty with that is what's your telemetry there. And that's where places like Shadow Server and the work that you're doing and the work that we're doing collaboratively here, hopefully, about identifying risks from our customers, from other leaders in the industry, from researchers. And then we got to get that in, and we have to adjust to that quickly and try to I don't know about trying to plan out the next attack or see what the next thing that's coming down the road. I mean, that's the Black Swan event,
Yeah.
I know people are familiar with the Black Swan, meme, but, the Black Swan event is something that, by definition, you can't plan for.
Yeah.
So you can only kind of game it out so far down the road before you just have to be agile and try to react.
Alex, I know you guys have customized a lot of stuff. What's going on at Facebook?
A little bit. I don't think you will ever be in a situation when you can move completely from product to platform security. It's always going to be somewhere in the middle. Even in a case like Facebook, where the bulk of the security, the vast majority of it, happens at a platform level on Facebook. It's customized systems specifically tailored towards Facebook. You're never at a place where you can completely throw away all the traditional product security. Our end users still need antivirus for the situations where they get a virus in an email attachment. There's also a lot of overlap there where we're responding to threats as quickly as possible, but there's still additional ways that users can protect themselves and supplement the security that we're providing with traditional product security. examples of that are WebSense URL filtering products at the gateway will also protect you if there's something distributed over Facebook that we don't get to before one of your users clicks on it. And you can't get rid of that. Like that's still a completely necessary component of securing the user. And I think the scarier part is that so much of it, so much of it shifts to the platform level, you become completely dependent on the platform provider, and it becomes very important for the platform providers to really be on top of the security of their systems. When there's a vulnerability in Facebook, most of our end users have very little options other than waiting for us to fix it, and we really have to be on the ball about fixing it before any of them damage it. You can take pretty simple examples like a basic cross-site scripting vulnerability. Like there's some no-script plugins that you could be running, but the vast majority of them aren't running that, and that vulnerability is going to exist until Facebook resolves it. At a more platform level, if you're on a virtual instance that has a vulnerable version of a VMware running underneath it, you're at the mercy of the platform provider to get it fixed for you. You don't have some of the options that you would have in a traditional plain product security. One of the good examples that I can think of was like some of the first Microsoft worms that started going around. Blaster, for example. It's the permanent resolution is on Microsoft's end. Like they have to get the Blaster patch out to fix it. But in between that, there are so many other ways that the end user could protect themselves before Microsoft gets the patch out. Most people were putting firewall rules in place, updating their antivirus, installing IDS signatures that were all stopping this and buying time for the official patch to come out. And a lot of that's missing in a cloud environment.
Great. Well, let's see if we can get some questions from the field. Has anyone here actually reported an abuse to any of these companies before? What? You guys are at the wrong conference. All right.
We have been hearing all lately that the issue of securing the cloud is not about identifying the threats or actually knowing what technologies to mitigate these threats. It's rather a scaling issue. And if this is the case, common sense says that hopefully it's the best way to address the issue is use the cloud as a platform to secure the cloud. Despite that, we haven't seen any vendor, even those who are presenting here today, that they are going down this route. They are still using their traditional way of developing security products and probably adapting them to secure the cloud.
So I'm sure that a lot of vendors use their cloud to secure the cloud, but I'll let them. Who wants to take a stab at that one? Can Amazon help secure Microsoft's cloud?
Yeah,
Vice
actually.
versa?
Okay, so let's. How far do we go? So Cloud A is secured by Cloud B. Who secures Cloud B? Cloud C? Is it turtles all the way down? Look it up if you don't know what that means.
I think one of the points I would make is that there are companies, for example, right now that help you balance clouds, like RightScale, for example, where you can take multiple cloud providers and shift data and scale and maneuver between them. But there actually has not been a business or a market yet that's matured or even come out based off of that idea. There's also obviously physics involved and technology involved, and you have to have cooperation and APIs and et cetera. But
I guess, speaking as someone from the infrastructure level, right, which is where we really focus our efforts, we view that keeping that infrastructure safe is our top priority. And there's a variety of ways we do that. And one of the things that we've actually started to do to address some of the more common forms of abuse is we've started to put limits in place. You know, if you run an SMTP server on a EC2 instance, we actually are going to throttle the amount of outbound SMTP mail. We have a limit on the number of instances you can start as a new customer until we verify who you are. And these are actually very highly effective at just stopping a lot of the really common patterns of abuse that we typically see. And so by then putting those in place, right, we can now focus our efforts on maybe the more esoteric kinds of things that might be a little bit more difficult to detect. A roundabout answer to your question, but I guess probably I would say that all of the people who are in the business of being cloud providers would have kind of the similar response, is that, they're going to do everything they can to protect their own platform. And because they built the platform from scratch, quite often it has to be internal knowledge that does that.
Anyone else? Michael? Or?
Well, where did that come from? I guess it takes a minute to warm up. I mean, I would echo that sentiment. I mean, I think that is partially the solution is that, you know, that there are security services that are in the cloud already. I mean, Qualys comes to mind, right? Is a platform service basically, you know, that can be used to good advantage. But I echo what Steve said, which is basically, you know, we are protecting at infrastructure level. A lot of that stuff, as we talked about, is kind of the you know, secret sauce of what we're doing behind the scenes, and some porting the controls over. And so, you know, there's just the concern about then if there's data then that's being housed by another party that comes from us, our own data or whatever it is, that we would have concerns about securing that as well. So, I mean, it's a valid question, but I think that's the right answer.
Yeah. Go ahead, right here.
So that was a business decision that we made, was that we didn't feel that this would be a successful business if we didn't respect privacy in such a way that customers could come to the service and just know that their data remains theirs, right? And we're trying, you know, we want to be very clear about that your data belongs to you. It doesn't belong to us. We don't do any third-party data mining across it. You know, it's not the same thing as Amazon.com, where you actually want that data mining to happen, right? Your data is isolated. It is yours. So I hate to sound like I keep repeating myself, but if you want to do inspection of the data that's coming into and out of your machines, the mechanisms are there for you to install those inspection tools yourself and run them in your own instances. If we were to start inspecting every single datagram coming into and out of our data center, honestly, I don't think that we could do that, because there's just way too much. And it also decreases your ability to know that your data remains private. So we really don't want to get into that business.